Okay, let's get started here. So the things you're going to need to do the radio bezel. Of course, you're going to need the radio bezel, a really sharp utility knife with some really good blades, a hacksaw, one of these, not a full-size hacksaw, but just this single blade, because you're going to have to get in there and cut that out and make it square. Some sheet metal, which we'll get into that later. You'll need that to make your custom radio mount. So you can mount it in the upper location. So this is the old one that came out of my Miata. You can see this one actually has a lip on the bottom too, which is weird. This one does not. The other one that I've already cut up does not. I've already completed this and installed this in my car, so I'm going back and creating another one just for demonstration purposes to show you how I did it. So I don't know when they made the changes, but anyway, you'll need to remove all this lip right here, and then we're gonna cut this out and make it square as well. So we're just gonna make it one giant square opening. This lip does not work for the AC unit. You can see it comes back at an angle, it gets smaller down here, so it leaves, when you clip it in, it sticks out like a ½ inch. So you want it to be flush, you're gonna have to remove all this. So the difference being is that when you install a radio in your normal bezel, it's installed into the bezel typically, so it's not going anywhere. We're installing the radio into the actual dash, and then this will just be a trim piece that fits over top of it, fits around it, and makes it look good. So before, in the past, you had to remove this trim and then put your little thing in and pull your radio out of the metal sleeve, and then you could remove, other bits and pieces. You could actually remove this after you remove the radio. You're going to be able to remove this, and your radio and your AC controller is still going to be in place. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this blade and we're going to cut down this and just score it several times until we can punch through. And we're going to go at an angle. So we're going to go at it kind of like this and cut into it. So let's get started. Once again, grab yourself a really sharp blade. It's pretty easy to cut through this stuff, it just takes time. Be very careful not to overshoot and then go onto the part that's going to be visible out here. So it's a very nerve-wracking procedure, but with some care it can be done, no problemo. Score the other side. I mean, the first time you go down this, you can feel it already starting to punch through in some areas. Just pretty wild. All right. Last time I did this, I had to change my blade once or twice because it's already broke the tip off this one. You can hear it stopping, that's where it's already starting to break through. broke the tip on this one. I like cutting that way. I like cutting this way, so if I go too far, I mess up the end that I'm going to cut out anyway. Mess that blade all up. If you try to cut straight down, you'll see you're going to go into this thick piece here, so you really have to cut at an angle. I may not have done enough angle because it went a lot faster the first time. Go. Once you punch through, there's a couple of pretty big pieces you got to go through, like these little hole ports there. Those are going to be the toughest parts. You'll just have to kind of work the blade through it by plunging it at that angle really hard till you hear it pop. This modification is definitely not for the faint of heart. You could possibly destroy your bezel and have nothing, so I would recommend having a backup or ordering a spare one off the internet or something, and just doing this part first. Make sure that you're able to get it done. Got a piece of blade broken off in there and it's tying me up. I'm going through another one of those. Yep, going through another one of those little screw holes. Those are the toughest parts. I'm really going at an angle when you get to those little screw parts to help make it a little bit easier. You can also, if you've got some snippers, these you run the risk of really doing some damage though. So use these sparingly. It could crack and go all the way up very easily by using that. But sometimes you just gotta take a risk. So that side's pretty much out. Just keep going down here. that. That's one side. Almost. Got a little trim piece down here at the bottom. That should be free. Alright, so we got one side done. You can kind of see the process there. Starting to get our square opening. I'm going to change blades because this one's trashed. If you get bored, you can always fast forward. If you get the gist. Let's go at a better angle this time. I didn't like that angle I did there, so we might have to redo this. I've already broke the tip on this one, goodness gracious. That's another problem. These blades break so easy, and then you get a tip stuck in the plastic, and then you're trying to cut through it, and you keep running into that tip. Definitely one of those screw holes. Alright. Woo! Always wear eye protection. Obviously, I have not scored this enough. There's a broken blade in there. It's probably, once again, an issue. This blade's already trashed. Put it on a flat surface too is going to help. I didn't have it flat because the shape of this, it's more curved at the top. Perfect. All those screw holes. And we're almost there. We are almost there. Almost. You want to make sure to not damage these ones though. The other ones I've cut away, so when you go at an angle you're trying to kind of avoid those. But these hold your bezel into the dash. along with one that goes down here as well. So we're almost there. Just a little bit farther. Another one of these screw holes. But it's not wanting to go through. There we go. Like a glove. Now we just got to cut the bottom. Being careful not to mess anything else up. Alright, so there's that part. So now comes the really fun part. So we've got to cut out this section here, and this section here, and make it square. And this is where you could, I got lucky, I guess, the first time I just did it. I just hand did it. I didn't put any kind of guide or anything on it. I just took the saw to it and was like, I got nothing to lose. I've got a bunch of these bezels just laying around. I would suggest putting some kind of a guide down. Maybe taping a large blade across the front. I think I'll do that. I'll pause for a minute. Alright, so I've taped it off so you can see the corners that we want to remove. Now I'm going to lay a metal blade down as a guide so I can't go through that and go too far into the plastic and create a slit. So hold on, I'm going to tape that on there. Alright, so now I've got just this little corner I'm going to take out here. I've guided that with a metal blade so I can really get it nice and straight. There's a metal blade over here as well. It's a different color so you can't see it as well. That's not the plastic, that's the metal blade. So now what I'm going to do is actually cut into this. I'm going to create a notch in this plate because it actually sticks out a little bit farther back in there. So just kind of cut that out. You can nip it out with this if you want, or however you want to do it. But it is going to be necessary to remove some of this down here in order to get at the angle that you need. Still having it in my way there, so I'm gonna cut that back some more. Go at it at an angle. Like I said, be careful using these kind of nippers because it'll just split all the way up. But you can kind of see what I'm doing there, creating an angle so that when I put my blade in, it's going to be straight and not be getting caught on that. So just keep getting at it until you can get the angle that you need. I need to remove some more. Whoopsie, about knocked the camera over. Being very careful not to hopefully split this all the way up. That would be terrible to get this far and then have it do that. It's going to keep getting in there, and I'm going to remove most of this. So I can get my it's definitely nerve-wracking. It's definitely nerve-wracking. This is not a fun thing to do. Woo! See if I can get my blade in there. Probably not. I need to make a little bit more room. You almost have to take it all the way up to here, and get as close to the edge as you can before you can really get this blade in here and start cranking on it. All right, now we're cooking. This blade cuts to this plastic really fast, so you have to be careful. Alright, so we made our first cut. It looks pretty good and straight. If it's not perfectly straight, that's okay. You're going to have a metal file. You're going to file down all the edges to round them off anyway, because these edges are naturally rounded through the molding process of making this from the factory. So, alright, now we're going to repeat the same steps over here. Cut out some more of this goodness so we can get our blade in there. Please don't split. Oh gosh, it did split all the way up, but I got lucky. It stopped right at the edge where it needed to. Woo! All right, like I said, be careful if you're using the nippers. And we have our first corner that is cut out now. So you can see I didn't get it as flush right there, so I'm going to go grab a file. And we're just going to file that down. And now it's perfectly smoothed and goes in line with the other side. I'm going to just kind of knock down some of the edge on this side too. There we have the smaller side completely done. Okay, when you're done with this, to build up this edge, I took some hot glue and just went around the edge and then painted it black. So I'm going to pause a second and vacuum this up. Give me 1 second. Ooh, okay. Vacuum sounds lovely. Alright, so got that done. Let's start on this side. So same procedure. We're going to have to cut in here so we can, I don't know if you can really tell, but what this flares out down here. This part flares out big time, so it's more out this way. You just can't get the blade in there. So we're going to hope that this doesn't crack all to pieces. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut an angle. Go at it like this. And I would say take your time with this. Just chip out a little piece at a time. To keep it from splitting all the way up to the top. I'm just going to get rid of that whole curvature down here. Whole thing's going to come out. Doesn't help that I'm using a bezel out of a car that had just sat out in the weather with no top on it, so this thing's super brittle. I'm gonna trim this little vein out right here so I can remove this piece. This does lose a little bit of the flexibility there and the rigidity, excuse me, I can't talk. Alright, so go in a little bit further. So nerve-wracking. Oh. This is hard to do with a camera in the way of my right arm too. Just like pulling teeth. Not that I would know what that's like, but certainly hope the camera angle shows what I'm doing, but I think everybody watching probably gets the gist of what you got to do. Get this out a little bit more. Alright. This is got to come out some more too. Playing with fire, playing with fire. All right. I'm getting nervous getting up that close to it. I'll get my tile nipper. Alright, let's see if we're ready to make a cut. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in there like that or not. We shall see. Definitely not. Let's try it now. Should be able to get my blade going straight down through there. Well, no, it's off. That sucks. We're just going to do the best we can. We'll file the rest down, so. Not going at the angle that I want it to go at. It's no bueno. Perfect. You can see I kind of went in at an angle here, but I'm just going to follow that down. I didn't want to risk going too far in. gonna try this again. We're gonna do the same thing with this. We're just gonna cut a little bit farther out and file it down. Alright, there we have it. You can see I've got a little bit of overhang I've got to sand down. I'm going to vacuum this up real quick and I'm going to sand that down. Okay, we're going to file some of this down until we get this nice and even, and then we're going to round the edges. So, make a mess again. This is the I ain't messing around file. There's actually more of this that I probably need to cut out right down in here to make it perfect. Or I can just keep filing it down. Let's just do that down. Now I'm going to work on the lip. Still got a ways to go. Ugh, hate sanding this crap. That side looks good. I'm gonna nip that out. I'm tired of sanding it. Sick and tired of sanding it. Where did my tin snips go? Right. Watch it split it. Oh, it sucks so bad. Alright, so that's better. Alright, perfect. Just that little piece was keeping me from sanding this nice and flat and even. Alright, so now we've got this really good. I'm going to put these over here. I'm going to vacuum this again because this stuff is floating everywhere. Hold on. Alright, so we've got that done. We can go ahead and take all this stuff off. Easier said than done. I am going to paint this because it's pretty faded, because like I said, it was in a car that sat out in the sun with no top on it. Parts car that I picked up for free. One of those haul it away and it's your deals, but it was a really rough car. Really not much salvageable in it. Oh, they've got plastic in there. Alright, looks really good. That corner looks great. Now, we'll need to round the edges so it doesn't look so atrocious. Well, I knew that was going to happen. All right, so you can see we've got our square cuts done. Looks pretty darn good. This one might go up a little bit high there, but that's okay. We're gonna sand this down. You can see how it's rounded here. It's just a straight cut where we cut out that stuff. So we are going to take a file, and we're just gonna take it like this at an angle. Just kind of rotate it back and forth, back and forth. And just go ahead and make that all the way down so it makes it look uniform. And you'll notice that that curvature is almost like a bevel. It goes pretty far in there. I'd say 1/16 of an inch. So we're just going to try and replicate that bezel. So I'm really going to lay this back. Okay. Until we're happy with the way it looks. It looks terrible. No, I'm just kidding. Looks good. So that side looks good. We're going to do the same thing over here on this side. First we're going to go back and forth, and make a rounded edge. And then we're going to make our bevel. Yeah, that's just gross. That looks pretty snazzy. Could go a little bit more right here. And then to make it uniform, just do it all the way down. Once you get that final edge, just go all the way down so it makes it look like it was all done that way from the factory. Looking good. Looking good. Do the same thing on this side now. Back and forth, rotate. And then we want to make our bevel. It's hard to see that bevel, so you just kind of gotta eyeball it. And then blend it into the bottom. Oh, that looks good. Now we're gonna do a corner. So I'm gonna, this side of this file is rounded. So I'm just gonna get in here and do this. We don't want it going to a point. We want it to look legit. So that side looks great. Let's finish up this side. Back and forth. Bezel, my bevel, can't talk, super freaking tired. I may have gotten a little crazy with the bezel there. That's okay. Nothing in life is going to be perfect. Now, make my rounded part. Corner. Taking our time on that. Mess it up. good. That looks real good. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Get this bezel off just a little bit farther. Perfect. I think that's about as good as I can get. I do want to put a little bit more on this side. Oh, yes. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. This may be better than the first one I did. Alright, cool. Alright, so that is the finished product for your radio bezel. So in the next part we're going to do, now it looks like it's off, but these tabs stick out. They come out, so it makes it look kind of wonky, but that's straight as an arrow going right there. Looks really good. So that's that. So next we're going to mock up the AC unit in the car and show you how it kind of gets attached in there. Actually, I forgot to smooth out the bottom section here. Whoopsie, forgot. That stuff just goes everywhere. Wear a respirator. That's another thing you'll need. So we'll work on the AC unit, putting that in. I'm going to paint this. So I'm going to hit it with some paint, let it dry for a couple of days because even though this stuff is made for plastic, it tends to leave fingerprints in it for a couple of days afterwards if you really put a pressure on it. So I'll let it dry. We'll fit this up in the car, and you'll see how we install the AC unit and the radio, and then this will just slip around. So, and just a quick shot of the bezel after we've sprayed some plastic paint on it. I used a Rust-Oleum 2X satin. I might mix it with some flat because these bezels really shouldn't be shiny. So anyway, so we'll let that dry and then we'll get cracking on the rest. Hey guys, we're switching putting the NB AC controls in an NA dash. This wiring setup would be the same as if you were wanting to put an NB dash in NA and switch over the whole NA harness into that NB dash. I'm keeping the NA dash with the NA harness and putting the NB plugs for the AC unit. Disregard this plug, but these two right here are the NB side. These two are for the NA side. You can find some information on the internet in some forums that are like 10-15 years old. It can be a little bit confusing if you've never done any wiring before. I'm just going to kind of do this because I'm a very visual person and I like to see exactly the wires and where they go. And a lot of the stuff on the website is like, I got my harness done and it looks like this, and it looks like that. You're like, well, I can't tell what goes to where. This is to let you know what plugs into what plugs into what side. The A is for the NA side, plug side. The B is for the NB pigtail side. So all this is NA on this side, and this is your NB stuff. So you have a picture of your plugs. These are all going to be from the front here. So if you're looking at this orientation of the AC plug, we'll start with that one first. You can see it's AC 1, 2, and 3. I went ahead and numbered it right there, so you can see 1, 2, and 3. 1 is your pink wire, 2 is your black striped blue wire, and AC3 is your blue with a yellow stripe on it. So if you look at the orientation here on the NA plug side, you'll see I put backside. And the reason why I did that is because technically if you're just using this harness, you're looking at it from this angle, but this means the plug side that's actually in the car, so the dash harness. So you'd be looking at it from the front. So now I'm looking at it from the back side. So I went ahead and numbered this. So you have pin 1, 2, 3, pin 4 and 5, switch 1, 2, and 3. So I just numbered it, pin 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then on the bottom you have switch 1, 2, and 3. So that's the NA side. This is the NA side as well. This is going to be the power for your lights. And you've got L1 and L2. But you can see that orientation right here. If you flip this over and look at it, bada bing, bada boom, there you go. You got L1 and L2, which is the one that's horizontal. This one's vertical right now. For the NB side, I numbered it out as well, so you're going to kind of look at it from this angle. I made my own little thing right there, but you have pin 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you have 1, 2, and 3 for the switches. So 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, so very simple once you've got it all kind of laid out and you know what's going where, and you just start at the top and go, okay, the NA plug side, you've got pin 1. Where's my pin 1? Well, I've labeled it right here. That is going to be your blue wire with the white stripe. Goes to AC3 and BP4. Okay, so that's your AC switch. Your AC switch is this sucker right here, which is going to be this little switch right here. And if you look and see the AC3, I've numbered it right here. Whoops. Right here, and it is the same color. It's blue with the yellow stripe. Now the BP4 is going to be on the NB side. And so you're going to look for BP4 because we've numbered them, and lo and behold, look at there, it's blue and yellow. So those match up, but some of these colors may vary on the different harnesses. This is an NB2 harness that came out of a Mazda Speed Miata. It also has this, which this little switch I think goes to a thermal switch. I'm not real sure. I'm not going to hook it up, which would essentially, if I understand correctly, you move this over to the defrost mode like here, it would automatically turn on your AC for you, because when you're defrosting your windows, you need the AC to get rid of the fogging. I'm not going to do that. I think I'm capable enough of just pressing the AC switch. So anyway, but as you're peeling open the harness, you'll find this is already tied in, and if you'll see that P1 from that we were just looking at, and you follow that P1, it goes into this harness that branches out, so it'll go to both AC3 and BP4 for you, which is really nice. And then you just have this, which you're not going to use. So I hope that makes sense. Let's go on to P2. If we look at P2, P2 is going to be P5, so pin 2 to pin 5. So pin 2 on the NA harness is it is blue with a red band on it. And then we are going to BP5, so we'll just go to BP5 because we numbered it. And this is actually just a solid blue wire, and it's the one over here on the 5 location. Then you go back to the NA harness. You have pin 3. This one's going to be blue with a green stripe and a red band. So pin 3 on the NA harness goes to AC1. Okay, so AC1 once again is our AC switch. AC1 is the pink wire. So you'll see AC1, number 1, pink wire. So all right, so we'll just move on down the line. Pin 4. This one is green with a black stripe, and it is going to go to AC2, and it's the one that has the diode in the line. Okay, so the AC2 switch is going to be the middle wire there, and it is blue with a black stripe. So those colors obviously do not match. So once again, that's pin 4, green with a black stripe, goes to AC2, the diode in the line, and that is AC2. It's the blue with the black stripe. Okay, now the diode, which you can recover from your AC switch, there's 2 of them. You can see one right here. The other one I've cut out, which attached here and here. And you'll also see on the diode, there's a band. That band, how I hooked it up, now I've seen it both ways, where like, oh, it goes away from this unit or it goes towards it. I put it towards it. So as the wire harness goes to this AC switch, which plugs into here, the diode is closest to this switch. It works for me. I don't know. So I assume that that is right. I could be wrong, but that's how I hooked it up. So now you move on to BP5, which is the last one here, BP5. That is blue with a black stripe and a red band. It goes to BP3 on the NB harness. So BP3, flip it over, and this is where you get into a little fun territory. BP3, there's no wire there. Okay, so you'll see there's one there now. It's green with a black stripe. I added that wire. So I cut that wire. This is for one of your fan speeds. I don't recall which one it is, but the diode setup somehow runs that fan speed on this old switch. On the NB, we've kind of changed that and created the harness to where it'll work without the diode. So where did I get this wire? Okay, so you can see how this is shaped. It looks like a little weird odd shaped eye. In the dash harness off the NB, I was able to find another plug that had these exact same pins, and I just sliced it open with a razor blade, pulled the pin out, popped that one in. So I'm able to add P5 on the NA side to BP3, which is now right there. BP3, there was no wire there. Now there's a wire there. All right, perfect. Let's just jump on down since we're down here. We have BP1 and BP2 on the NB side for the lights, and you have L1 and L2 on the NA for the power. So you got your L1, your L2. I'm not going to really describe the colors on these because they are totally different on NB1s and NB2s. I will say that, you know, it looks like on the L1 to BP1, that is a red and black. I'll go ahead and just say that that's the red and black, and it goes to, looks like the red and black BP1 right here on the NB harness. Now, I've seen NB1 harnesses and they're completely different colors, and then obviously your L2, which is the green and white wire, goes to the gray and red striped BP2 location. So that would be this one here. L2 goes to this one here and the number 2 location. Whatever color wires you have on your harness, they may be different. So, and that will allow you to run the lights in here, and then should also dim as well. Then we have, last but not least, the easiest part to hook up, and you don't even need a diagram to do this. You literally just match colors. Okay, so on the NA side, you have S1 goes to S2 on the NB side. So flip it over, we got one. You'll see that it is blue with a white line. And I can just come over here, I don't even have to read that again. It goes to BP2, it's a blue one with a white line. So same thing with switch 2 on the NA side, goes to switch 3 on the NB side, and switch 2 is red and it's blue with a red stripe, and lo and behold, you look at switch 3, it's blue with a red stripe. Same thing with this one. S3 is the ground, and it goes to B S1, and they're both black wires. So I mean, that's just as simple as could be. So anyway, so if you hook that up all in that way, it shall work. So hope this video helps, just kind of walking you through someone who's actually done it live and got some better, not just pictures but videos. I wanted to do that before I take this and wrap it up. So if anybody has any questions, just let me know. Okay, so we're making the mounting brackets for the radio on this part. So I had, like I said, I've already installed this, so I just uninstalled mine, but I wanted to make a better bracket. But this is what my bracket looked like, but it left some room for this to still kind of wiggle around a little bit, though it didn't move at all in the car. I wanted to make a bigger bracket. This is this one on the other side, but these holes mount up with the I was originally trying to cut up the actual AC controls. This is how it mounts into the dash. You have a top and a bottom hole, and then there's a pin that goes there that just kind of gets it right where you want. But use that as my guide to cut these holes here. So I'm just going to make a bigger bracket that actually extends up here to that other bolt hole, even though my dash does not need it because my dash is broken. Both those are broken up at the top. But if you're wanting to mount this really good in your car, there was only limited holes I could screw into this. I only had one, so I need a bigger bracket that comes down here so I can tap into a hole down here, and that will definitely keep that just like super stable. So what I've done is gotten some steel over at Lowe's. This is a 6-inch by 18-inch 16 gauge steel plate. And since I did my measurements, I want 6 inches to come back to here, and 4.5, which is going to go from up to about right here. So up here and come all the way down to here. So I'll have plenty of mounting holes. I can trim off more later. So 4.5 by 6. Your radio might be different, depends on what you're using. This is a Pioneer 4200 NEX. So it just depends on what you're using. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this up and I'll be right back. All right, I've cut both of my pieces, 4.5 by 6. Only had to make the 4.5 cuts because the metal was already 6 inches wide on the plate that I used. So after reviewing this a little bit farther, what I'm going to do is actually turn it the opposite way. So the long way is going to go down, but I have to make my bend. This is exactly 1 inch, so I got to bend my ear. So by the time I've made my line right there with a pin where that's where the mounting bracket goes to mount to the actual dash. So I'll have to bend this back about 1 inch. By the time I do that, it's going to put my plate back about like this. Still gives me plenty of room to put into these two holes, which is where I want to mount it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make a mark on this for 1 inch. I'm going to get my vise set up over here, and we're going to bend that piece of metal, and we're going to drill some holes. So bear with me. Okay, so I've got one marked for my 1 inch bend that I'm going to put on this side here. If you got one of these, great. If you don't really need one. It's a brake die, which you can put into a vise, and you can make a bend really easily. You do not need this. You could literally just put it in a vise and bend this metal. It's pretty easy to stop my garage door from closing there. Sorry. It's pretty easy to bend. In fact, I would recommend probably even going with a thicker steel, because this is actually thicker. But anyway, that's what we're going with. So got that set up. I'm going to make a bend here. Let me just once you get it in your vise there, just give it some cranks. So you get your 90-degree bend. And we're going to cut some of the ear off because that ear is way too long. We just need it to be as long as one of the AC vents. So there we go. We got our 90-degree bend. Beautiful. So now what we need to do is make it smaller. So I'm gonna trim it up here. Give me just a... Okay, so for my mounting bracket, I made this ear a little bit wider, which is okay, but it sticks out a little bit more. So I just kind of guesstimated. I just, you know, you can line it up with your bracket on here. Just kind of eyeball it. Sorry the video is kind of crappy there, but basically we're just going to drill a hole to match this guy here. You can take a measurement from where that is up to the hole to figure out where you need to put, because the tolerance is pretty tight. When like on this bracket, when it was mounted up, I mean, anything much thicker than this and it wasn't going to go in very well. So okay, so we got the both of these bent now, so these are both ready to receive the mounting holes. So I'm gonna drill my first hole. You definitely need one of these step bits or a drill bit, just depending on what size you want to make it. I prefer making the holes a little bit larger. That way you can move the radio around in the dash and just tighten down the screws to adjust the height of the radio to get it just perfect in the way that you want it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and drill out these holes. Alright, so I'm just using this as a guide to get my holes. I already got 2 drilled. I go for the third one there. I think most of this is pretty much self-explanatory on as far as how you need to measure where the holes need to go and everything. If I need to explain that to you, then you probably shouldn't be doing this videos or doing this modification. Deburr the back side there. So we have our 3 mounting holes. So now all this is excess right here, so we're going to cut that part out. I know, bummer, right? But it won't fit in the dash that way, so that's what I'm going to work on now. I'm going to go make some marks, stick this in the dash and just make a mark here, see how much of that I need to take down. So okay, so I just took my Sawzall, made the cut where I need to cut it back. Now I'm going to cut this ear out. Okay, so what I did is just put it in the vise like that, turn it upside down, took that ear off. Okay, so this bracket's almost done. I did put it in the car. This is too long. My initial thought process was to bend it under to cradle the radio, but it's still just a little bit too long for me to test fit, so I'm going to cut some of this excess off down here, so it's no longer going to be 6 inches long. So alright, take a test fit here. Yeah. Alright, so now you can see what I'm saying. Bolts in like that. So we are gonna bend in the bottom, so we'll cradle the radio. But these holes don't have to be entirely accurate. Mine are a little bit off, but you can waller them out. It's fine, because like I said, mine's broke at the top, so I'm not even gonna use this one. It's broke at the top on both sides. The little plastic piece, there's nothing even to screw in like there's the bottom. Hopefully the other side doesn't do that in the future, because I will not be in a good place if that's the case. So anyway, that's where we're at. So that's kind of what you want your bracket to look like before you start drilling your holes here, so that you can mount the bracket to the radio. So we've got one side done. I'm gonna go ahead and work on the other side, get it caught up. For this part, I'm using my old bracket to kind of look at it, and you can see it's kind of tilted. It's angled down like this just a little bit. To get your radio in there the right way. So what I did is, to get my marks, you can faintly see a pin line right there that I made for this bracket. So what I did is I took this radio and I laid it in there on top of the AC controls. I used some little foam pieces and blocks of wood or whatever to get it up to the height that I wanted it to, where it looked good with the bezel around it. Then I removed the bezel, I slid this bracket in, and I drew my line in the angle that I got. So that's how I've gotten to this point, okay? So in order to make my next, I have a line drawn here and a line drawn here, and I'm very sorry you can barely see it. It's really just terrible. It's a, you can kind of see the line I drew on the radio there. But anyway, I'm going to use that measurement from there to there to figure out where I need to drill my hole in this bracket. So that's what I'm going to do next. I am just using my old bracket, and I'm literally just eyeballing this. So you can do it however you want, but that's how I'm doing it. So, and that is what I get for eyeballing it. So yeah, so my hole needs to be right there, not way up there. Oh, that's too funny. That doesn't even mount into anything. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so the first hole is done. I test mounted it in the car already. Fits up pretty good. So to get the second hole, what I'm going to do is continue this line. Just make a cross across here so I can transpose that onto that piece of metal once I lay it on top. So you can see I've already got one side done, so I'm just going to match that line up with the line over here to get exactly where I need to drill my second hole. And now you can see I've made my mark. I just took a straight edge, went across there. I'm going to make my hole right there. Okay, so unfortunately I do not have two of these flat ones, so that's probably going to be an issue getting the radio in, but I'm just going to test fit it with that in there for now. Alright, so we've got one bracket down. I went ahead and made all my marks here, so when I put my other plate of metal on there, I can drill my holes and get them lined up where I need to go. But I still got to finish that bracket, so I'll work on that. Alright, so we have the other side done now. Be sure to file down all your edges so they're all, you know, roughly smooth. Not roughly smooth, but smooth. And that should work. So I'm going to go test fit it real quick. So I've test fit it, and it's almost perfect. I just need the radio to go up a little bit on this right side. So I'm gonna file down that hole to where I can push this radio up a little bit more, and it should be a pretty good fit. So I'm gonna file that down. And a quick update, I widened the hole here so I could push this bracket back so it's farther apart down here than it is up here. I think I said that backwards earlier in the video, but this should be pretty darn close, other than just tweaking how you want it to angle and get as flush as you can to the radio bezel. So unfortunately it's pouring rain down out there, so I'm having trouble getting back in and forth out of the car without getting this radio wet, and I can't take the camera with me. So I'm gonna test fit it one more time, see how it looks. I just told you completely backwards, so this bracket's gonna be closer to the bottom part of the radio, farther part at the top, the way that I've made it. But anyway, your bracket, make it however you want, but this is just about right now. Okay, so the final bracket, it's closer down here on this end than it is up at the top. So if you go by this bracket here to the face of the radio, it's like 2 1/8 to the back of the bracket. At the bottom of my bracket, it's right at 2 inches, right on it. So it's off by about, it's tilted, slanted about 1/8 of an inch. So that would be the most crucial measurement you need to think about when you're making your bracket, because this mounts right to the dash. So from the back of that bracket to the front, to keep it pretty flush, it's going to stick out a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so from the bezel. But that's going to get you somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay, let's talk about the bezels. Okay, this is the original one that I did. I cut it differently than the one I showed you in the video, which is this one, where I used the blades to help line it up. I ended up cutting a little bit too far on this side. I went in with some sealant and then painted over it and sanded everything smooth to make it come back out more, so it would close the gap up when the radio bezel goes in, so it looks a lot better now. This is the original one. I did not cut the bezels down, so you can see there's like a nice rounded edge and then it's just sharp right there. Same thing over here, it's just really small because you didn't have to cut out much. But I cut it a different way. So, and I was more successful doing it the first time than I was the second time. I put a lot of work into puttying that back up and then sanding it and painting it. I was kind of disappointed. But what I did is I took this and I literally put it on top like where I need it to go, and I traced around the edges with a marker onto the top of this plastic, and then I cut at it at an angle like this, from like this, and just went through until I got to that marker edge, and I did the same thing on that side. And then I trimmed out all the back side, and then I glued back there so that it wouldn't be such a big gap. This also has a bunch of hot glue that I used. It's actually auto body glue, so it's actually black, so it works out nice. But yeah, so this one I ended up using a different paint too. You can see this one's a lot shinier. I don't like it. This right here almost matches the bezel perfectly, and the center console. And that is the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer Satin Bonds to Plastic Wood, Metal, and more. So, we're just about ready to bolt this thing back up. Put my blade back up. Radio's ready to go in. I changed the bulbs to blue LEDs on the AC unit. That was an absolute pain. I am not taking the AC unit back out, so what we will do is just kind of walk you through what all I did here. Alright, so your AC unit is just going to be loose in here, okay? It's not going to clip in like it did in NB, but it does fit into this metal bracket back here, which keeps it in place. And then once you get the radio in there, it actually presses down on it just a little bit, and it keeps it in place. It does not move. I've been driving this thing for weeks now. It's fine. It doesn't move. It's fine. It's just the only thing holding it in is this metal bracket back here. If you cut that out, you're kind of screwed. Like I was telling you, these are bad. These are still good on the bottom, but they're looking pretty beat. That one's broke. That one's broke. But I have made the bracket sort of bolt to both. If I ever replace the dash and fix those that are dried out. I actually found the other half of those. the back side of these, they were just laying inside the dash. They're just so dry and brittle and destroyed. So this is what it looks like when you have it all hooked up. You know, you've got your AC set in there. Now we've got our bracket that's going to hold a radio in above it. So it's pretty simple as far as the cables go. What I recommend if you're moving the cables, you're adjusting the cables, is that you set it all the way to one side, okay, like all the way to cold or all the way to hot, so you know the cable is fully extended or retracted, whichever way you're doing it. And then made up the corresponding cable that runs to the flapper doors. All can be reached. There's one on the driver's side back here, and it's literally just a clip that you just spread it open, you pop it out, and it just comes right out. So, and it's the same thing on the other two over here, for your fresh air door, which is the one that's going to be all the way over here above your blower motor. And then I can't remember, I think this one goes to your heater back there. Yeah, it's going to be your heater core. So no, I'm sorry, this one's going to be the heater. Heck, I don't remember. But anyway, so it's really simple. Just make sure you got it set all to one side, okay? And then when you pop them on there, it should be good. The only caveat that I've seen is that on this is all well and good. It just doesn't go all the way to the top for the defrost. I mean, it's like right there. but it is. It just doesn't line up with the NA as well, but everything else it's good to go. So you might be able to fine tune it a little bit more with the flapper door back there, but as far as I'm concerned, it works just great. So you can see the cable running back in there. There's one that goes right there, and you can see the little metal rusty clip back there that the light's flashing on over there. And there's one on that side, and then there's one above the airbox. I was actually going to take it out and replace the LEDs because it's easier, but if you take this AC button out, you can get to the one LED bulb there, and if you take this and you flip it kind of sideways, you can get to the other one from the bottom side to replace the LED bulbs. There's two of them. Now the reason why I didn't take it out is my screws to hold in my glove box are seized in. I guess I put them in just way too tight, and I've rounded them both off, and I can no longer get the glove box out, so I just don't feel like dealing with grinding those screws out at the moment. So you're just gonna have to deal with that, unfortunately. So with that being said, I'm going to start reassembling that. So I'm going to bring the radio back and I'm going to put in here, but before I do that, I'm going to put in the gap filler that goes right here. I'm going to show you where to get that as well. Okay, so you have your radio, yada 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 yada, and the kit, which is one of these, the Metra, this Metra 997505. Comes with one of these for a single din, and it has a gap filler built into it. Okay, so it looks kind of like that. You just clip this off, break off the little tabs there, and then repurpose it to stick to the bottom of this guy. And the first time I did this, I just hot glued it on. You can stick it on however you want, but I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the bottom, and then I'm going to go ahead and bolt the radio in and put the bezel on. We'll take a look at it. Okay, so I've just hot glued that on there. Like I said, I've got that auto body glue, so just it keeps it on there. It's not going to come off. So I tore off the old stuff because I used regular glue on it the first time. So the radio kit, like I said once before, which is the Metra kit, also comes with this screen surround and then these brackets, and that's just what holds this on. Normally you would clip it into an NB. It's made for an NB, and it would clip in with these little clips on the top and the bottom, but since it's an NA and we're bolting it over on this side, it is just basically there for looks. So it just essentially snaps on and it's ready to go. So there's just a little snap here and there that hold it on. So now we've got our extra trim piece on. We can go ahead and move to the car and start plugging everything back up. So we are just waiting on it to stop raining for a second so we can get over there and pop this thing back together. So I think it's about done. So we've got the radio bezel back together. I got my switches in there. I put the little metal clips in the back on each side and at the bottom, and this is ready to go. It's gonna look pretty darn good once it gets in there, and that satin really just, it matches it perfectly. So and as long as you're not rough with it, the paint will hold up really well. So alright, I think we're about ready. So let me get the camera set up in the car. So I put the radio in and then tested the lights, and the lights were not working for this AC on this side, which is a hard one to get to. So I had to take the radio back out and replace that little bulb, which is such a pain. So now we got that out of the way. We know the LEDs are working now. Let's get back to installing. Okay, now you can see it fitted in here with the brackets. I haven't bolted it in yet, but you can see that this falls down a little bit. It's going to be held in place by the bezel. So, and then what's behind it. It cannot move left or right or back or even down once you put the radio bezel on. But I'm going to go ahead and bolt this thing in. Just wanted to show you how those brackets that we made work and fit. Sorry, there's like a major glare. It's rainy, nasty, and gross out today. So, okay, so you have to put a spacer behind these bolts just because the depth of them, they're not that deep. So if you go trying to put that all the way in, it will never tighten down because it'll just hit the bottom, hit the back of the screw hole. So you just need a spacer to bring that out more, and so you don't strip anything out and mess it up. So, but there it is, bolted in place. And like I said, this bezel is now just going to slip around it. So I unfortunately don't have a way to hold the camera and do this at the same time. So okay, so I literally just popped it into place. So there it is. She's all done. Like I said, this thing's not going to move around on you. It's going to stay in there. It's secure. So that's how you do it. And then you just bolt everything back up and should be good to go. All right, guys, there it is, the finished product. Other than I have not put in my vents yet, just because I want to make sure everything's working properly on the radio and haven't missed anything. So before I plug those in, I'll just double check everything and take it for a spin. But for the most part, we are done. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to message me if there's anything that's just not clear on here. But I mean, it's great. It's really, really great. So I've got my wireless Android Auto and a plug for the USB and the HDMI there, so I can also hook up a mini PlayStation type thing right in there, so I can play video games now when I'm on a break or whatever. Cup holders from an ND, custom made by myself. I love that little mod. So a couple other little things just want to show you too. I also have a voltmeter that I built into the dash, which you can turn on and off with a sensor button down here, boop, 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 which is real nice. It takes place of your dummy battery light, which tells you, hey, you got about a mile before you're stranded. So this will allow you to see any fluctuations. If you start seeing your voltmeter going up and down rapidly, you know that your alternator is getting ready to go out. So or if it's dropping, the voltage regulator will go out, and that will cause the voltage to go up and down dramatically, and that's how you know it's about to go bad. If you start to lose a charge and it's not normally sitting around where you normally have it, without all your other accessories on and stuff, and you know your alternator's bad, which is kind of cool. Also have my own phone mount, which is also my dash cam as well, so which is pretty cool. It's magnetic. It's just a little mount like that. You literally just snap it on there, it's gone. It will not come off. It's just a metal plate that I made, and got a bracket back there for it. And then I have a magnetic charger too, so I can it'll sit right there when I'm not using it, and when I want to plug it up, I can literally just magnetic it right to it, just like I have on my motorcycle. So anyway, just some other cool little things I had. People ask about the cup holders all the time, how that works. I just took an ND and hacked it up. So take the cup holder out of the center console of an ND Miata and cut a hole in the top there and plug it away, and you have cup holders that are now removable, and your drinks are out of the way. So just some other little one-off things that I've done to this car, just to have fun with. It's my daily driver, so I drive it back and forth to work. Put about 500 miles a week on this car. So thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the video. If you have any questions, please reach out, let me know. Thanks, bye. Hell yeah.